Oh, bloody hell, she back. You killed me. I got a little bambino. Please leave now. Please leave.
Main bit at the start, but I just said
sure.
Hello and welcome to There Was a Woman with a Funny Neck.
So
I'm Gary Forrester
and Miles Bennell here
Miles
as well.
Bennell's with me here. No, that was just that's just my little joke. That's one of the potential names for this show, but we went with Trout Spinners, and that's what this is, isn't it, Miles?
It is. It's a retrospective of the XFM tapes with Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant, and Karl Pilkington, who we are not.
Who we are not. When you said that, it sounded like our show was with those people. Like,
I wish.
With Ricky Gervais. No, there's no prospect.
Well, ironically, Ricky's the only.
We might. I mean, Karl has officially said no, but I think he's malleable, and we could get him, but I don't think we'll get any of the others really.
I think Stephen we could get.
Stephen maybe, but he's said no as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he said no. We haven't tried Ricky. So. Like, Ricky's the only one we haven't tried.
Ricky's the one who would never do it. We've always said that.
But maybe that's all the more reason why he would do it, though.
Ironically do it. I don't know, maybe.
Maybe he'll go, throw him a bone.
We'll have a few beers and a bit of red wine, and you'll contact his agent, probably.
I will
stalking him.
That's how it works. Something you know a lot about. I've got a bit of a lottery addiction at the moment. And
well, it's funny because I played the lottery a lot, and I often have said it to Miles, like, oh, I've bought a lottery ticket. He's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? About 2 weeks ago, he said he's bought his first lottery ticket, and he's already addicted. I bet you don't buy as many tickets as I do.
The thing is, right, it doesn't seem like gambling when you do it because the site's so it's so easy to do, isn't it, gambling?
It makes it's very easy. Since stuff has gone online, it's dangerous. It's like you can get. I used to work for Ladbrokes, a gambling company, and we used to get people. They were clearly addicted, but we couldn't. We had to. They could freeze their account, but we had to kind of take their instructions. So they kept coming back, putting back, and you just know they didn't have the money for it, and they're just putting on every single horse race. They would call back, and another one. It's very sad, actually. It's quite a terrible addiction because there is no end point. If you win, if you have a big win. That's not the end point. There is no end point. The addiction is gambling, whether you win or not. So if
Gary, look, all I want is a grand. All I want is at least $1,000, and then I'll stop.
Yeah. Well, why don't you do a bit of work for your company that pays you?
Fuck that.
Instead of doing this podcast of an afternoon.
It's a bit of fun, isn't it? And that's something to look forward to in these times. But it's a beautiful day today. I'm excited to be doing this show. Well, relatively excited.
I mean, I like how you swiftly moved from gambling addiction to it being a lovely day outside. It's kind of like,
people in
gambling, but it's lovely.
The people in Ladbrokes aren't going to know anything about this beautiful day because they're going to be inside in the shadows.
No, yeah, using Les 2.
What's that?
That's what our system was called, Les 2.
Les 2.
I don't know if my mum built it or what, but that's what it's called, Les 2. LES and 2 like eyes.
That's how they. That's how they sign off their greetings cards, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how I sign off mine.
Oh.
Anyway, I will be this Sunday. It's Sunday's Mother's Day, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Bloody hell! What are you getting your mum?
Flowers.
I've got flowers as well. The thing is, like,
Miles is a mother's boy. I'm not, but Miles is which is lovely, by the way. He's got a lovely relationship with his mum. I envy it.
And one day you could be adopted into our family.
Well, I think she would choose me over you if it came down to it. So I have asked before if we could swap mums.
I reckon I'd get on with I think I'd get more of your dad than your mum's, which is ironic because I'm not very good with dads.
No, but my dad, he's all right. He loves you. He loves you.
Yeah, quite right.
Dad.
Quite
he
right.
He always asks, how's Miles?
Oh, that's nice.
Ask how I am, please.
No.
Instead of Miles. No, it's fine.
They don't want to know that.
No, I do get on with my dad, like, it's just that we're not like super, super close family, but I just keep my distance, and it's fine, My dad's got a good sense of humor. Like, I swear I got my sense of humor was from my dad. Whereas mum, not.
He must
my
be
mum.
dangerously unfunny then.
Yeah. He's like Patrick Keelty. No, he bought me my first Harry Hill DVD, and that sort of changed my life really. So.
Wow.
In fact, it wasn't DVD; it was VHS. That just shows
Those
how
days.
long ago it was.
Yeah.
Diana was still alive. Anyway,
it was which we played last. Also, can I just say, guys, thanks for bearing with us on our last episode. I understand we had loads of technical issues. Hopefully that won't be replicated today because we've changed systems. We're a lot more relaxed. We even did a little clapping exercise at the start.
We had a little exercise that Marzo says we had to 1, 2, 3, and we had to clap at the same time. And I think it's just in whether you said like whether it sounded like they came at the same time, but it was like, you know, the end of maybe a Thursday, it's 3 p.m, you've got half an hour of school left, you're in year 4, and you know, you do a bit of like, okay, we're just gonna either read you a story. Sometimes you read a story, sometimes it's like, you know, let's do a little clapping exercise to get you unwound for the end of the day. That's how.
Well, hey, it's good. People should be relaxed now because they're about to sit down with their favourite podcasters for another episode of the Trout Spinners.
Who? Oh, so they like, what's that?
Louis Theroux.
Yeah, Louis Theroux.
Okay. This week, we discuss episode 43, and this was originally broadcast on the 21st of June, 2003. Karl's holiday in Cornwall recap. Rockbusters and Monkey news now ended, according to Ricky, but they do come back anyway. And Monkey news from Karl's dad and a Monkey news extra, Monkey Business. I'll put a link into the description with the original show, and then you can join us for our little debrief shortly. All right.
Oh, hi. Hi. Hello.
Oh.
No, I think our listeners actually don't need to listen to the show. Probably like they're so familiar with it. But yeah, it is good to listen to it before you hear our debrief because it reminds you of certain bits and things like that you might have.
What did you think of the episode in its entirety?
In its entirety, I loved it. I really like it. I don't like all of it. It's a mixed episode, so there's bits like the Trojan horse stuff. Not for me. It just doesn't really do it for me. It's not the most entertaining chat. The Rockbusters I've given 9.5 out of 10. Excellent. The clues and the answers just fantastic. Monkey news I gave 9 out of 10. With the bonus one on top, it could be a 9.5 out of 10. So they're very good. And you always know a show is going to be excellent if the Monkey news and the Rockbusters is great. And this show they are. The story about unlikely lost objects.
Yeah,
love it. Love that chat so much. Just the whole and Karl is excellent during it. Absolutely brilliant. It's always funny. This is just a little side note when they mention Tony Blair because it feels so long ago. We've had a few prime ministers since then.
Yeah,
but it was like it just really dates it because I put like it feels like a generation ago, but actually it is a generation ago. It doesn't just feel like it was a generation ago. You know, 20 years is a generation, and it really dates it with Tony Blair. Not that I'm complaining about Tony Blair, it's just funny to hear it. Yeah, the story about Cornwall as well is very good. Always like hearing about Karl's dad. And in fact, this has got my favourite Karl's dad anecdote in it about where he just said, you know, when he dies, don't waste money on a coffin for him, put him in a bin bag.
Which I agree with.
Yeah, I have used that line in my life. And people have laughed at it. Like I've used it as my own. I'm a thief there, so I'm gonna admit it. But that line is very funny.
We all do it. We all do it.
Yeah, and then we've got more stuff about Karl's dad in the Monkey news as well. So it's quite Karl's dad heavy. And overall it creates a really good show. But as I say, I'm not a fan of all of it. But it's really an episode where it's an episode of 2 halves. The second half is like stellar. The first half. It's okay, but it's a bit more pedestrian, not so hot.
I know what you mean, because the Trojan horse stuff, it seems that it's like a very sort of generic piece of sort of stand-up comedy, like observational light. Yeah. And it's fine. Like it's all the things they're saying. It's also Ricky has used that before and Noah's Ark and like phrases and sayings generally in his stand-up, hasn't he? Like in the politics.
Yeah, and he does it well. It's funny.
Yeah. Because he weaves that into stand-up like, with the story of like the boy who cried wolf, and he says, don't tell the same lie twice. And then the same with Noah's Ark. We goes, it's going to take a while. It's gonna...
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. But the Trojan horse, I can't remember how it comes about, like who starts it. But I think
Steve just brings it up like out of context. Oh no, he was talking about he was talking about Tony Blair using that as a metaphor, and then that's how they got
yeah. So I do the little bits that I did like of that chat were a couple of little Ricky comments, because he's very good at these sort of comments, like, why did they write that? That's suspicious. And let's will it and go to bed. We'll worry about it tomorrow. Those are funny. Like, I like those. You know, he's good at adding those little bits. But overall, it's not the most fascinating show. But, you know, it's okay. It's still all right. But just it doesn't hold up when you're comparing it to the overall quality of the XFM Ricky Gervais show as a whole. But yeah, it's great about... it's got a lot of Karl's dad in it, which I like, as I say. Do you like it as much as me?
Yeah, I love this. Yeah. I just echo all of that. The Rockbusters are superb. Buy it ferry, buy on ferry.
Yeah, they
buy
are
it ferry. Classic. What is that, Scott? They are probably the best Rockbusters for me, actually. And then the deli meat treat D. It's just, and I will say it's going to be my favorite quotes. But one of the favorite takeaway quote for me this episode is a meat tree, and that just the sounding of like complete resigning to the fact that it's terrible, and Christ the bug, and the fact that Karl has to say it so many times in that accent.
It's hang on, I was going to get this. Wait, you can cut this little bit out. Hang on a sec. I just love Christ the bug.
Yeah.
It's the way Ricky just does that. Sometimes that's funnier than a laugh, actually.
So bad, aren't they? There is a lot about Karl's dad, and you do get an insight into what it's like growing up there, and sort of the mad. I mean, Karl's had a mad life story. If you think about how mad his dad's is, when he says the train story was talking about, he was 18, worked on Manchester train, £3 to £4 million damage, shut down for 4 weeks or something like that, and then he gets paid for 3 weeks. It's just what? And the bit about I don't know what it is about the. I was trying to validate that story, see if I could find anything like Manchester's like local press. Like, I've spent so much of my life has been spent like, looking for pointless XFM related press articles, including which I'm sure we'll talk about later, the unlikely lust objects. I've spent at least a good fucking hour on that. Haven't found it yet. But with the bit I love about, he said, I did my bacon and eggs on a little shovel. I just thought that's such a cute, such a lovely image. And then I was thinking, that actually would be pretty delicious, actually, on a show.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like over an open flame. Like, it's like, you know, it's proper. Like Gordon Ramsay would do that in one of his in one of his restaurants or something. But that's one Karl's dad story that I do actually largely believe. Like, I do not believe. You can argue with me if you want, listeners, but I do not believe he picked up a human child, a human teenager. Took him out of a minivan and put him inside the wheelie bin, then went off to Thorpe Park, came back and then picked him out on the way back. I don't believe that, but I do believe that's the sort of story that I do believe. It's probably embellished, but we all embellish stories, but I do believe that happened to him. And it's quite it's a funny story.
Something that I do contest didn't happen in this episode is when they do the monkey news and saying, so a couple of my mates' monkeys had a sorry. A couple of chimps.
Actually, that's interesting, because I do kind of believe that. I do actually believe that. When we spoke to Laurie, he was sort of saying, you know, his depiction of that estate. I can imagine someone with a chimp.
With a chimp? Especially a chimpanzee from a zoo, from an African jungle, in a metropolitan area.
Yeah. When you put it like that, it does sound far-fetched. But,
yes.
I do kind of believe that. Yeah, I don't necessarily disbelieve, but you know, I think it's because of the fact that one of the people in the story was a drag queen or drag artist, which, you know, Karl's dad wouldn't be in favour of, but he told it to Karl like that anyway, and that kind of makes me think, well, if he's put that detail in, he wouldn't add that to something that wasn't true, because he wouldn't like that to be in the story. So that makes me think it's more true. But I might be wrong on that, but that could be true, put it that way. But certainly it's not one that's like, obviously not like they put in a kid in a wheelie bin. And by the way, yes, I love the put in the kid in the wheelie bin story. I still enjoy it just as much, even though I don't believe it actually happened. It's still very funny. So I'm not saying, oh, you know, don't believe it or be miserable about it. But yeah, in this episode, I certainly believe he said, "Don't waste money on a coffin for him. Put him in a bin bag."
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
and that's not a story from his childhood. That was a story from his holiday last week. So,
oh, can you just imagine also Suzanne having to go away with Karl moans about going away with Suzanne's parents. She's got the raw end of the deal here, having to go away with 3 people that are essentially Karl. Oh, yeah. Just literally, like Ricky takes the piss, doesn't he, when he goes, "Is Suzanne, so why is the moon out at night and the sun in the day?" Go, and all the mental stuff that goes on. Do you remember that time when they're talking about having to trudge through a field to save £3? That's in series 4.
That's series 4.
And they're like worried about, you know, getting trampled on by cows just to save £4 fucking. Poor Suzanne has to put up with all this stuff on the holiday that Karl's claiming isn't even a holiday, which I love how Karl, what he constitutes as a holiday, but his attitude when he gets back from holiday as well, which is like, I'm back now. Everyone has to work around me. Like, Stephen, you might be busy, but you've got to work on my schedule, right? My time.
No, but important. To be fair, I'm with Karl there, because remember, we always say, like, he's the hardest worker out of the 3 of them. And like, yeah, he has a holiday. And again, Ricky's in this one, like, he's sort of saying, oh, yeah, how many jobs? We've got loads of jobs. He's always mentioning they've got loads of jobs. He loves it. But I think, you know, Karl getting back and saying we should have a meeting, probably it's the fact that the other 2 were too lazy, or certainly Steve, too lazy. I'm more with Karl on that, because I don't think he's being arrogant saying you've got to work on my schedule. It's just that he had a holiday and he wanted to get straight back into work, you know.
I don't know. I think there is a bit of that.
Do you know, I looked up, because I didn't know when they're talking about playing crib, which is a lovely little anecdote.
Have you played it, by the way?
No, nothing. I haven't. No, it's, you know, it's funny. It's a sweet one, actually. And I do think I can see Suzanne getting on better with Karl's dad than Karl. Like, I think Karl's dad is probably quite nice to Suzanne, and also, like, saying put him in a bin bag and stuff. He's obviously trying to be funny with her as well. Like, so I actually think it probably isn't. Like, I think they're probably quite nice to Suzanne. They probably think, fucking hell, Karl's lucky. You know,
but to be honest, it sounds like both their dads are kind of big characters anyway, because when Karl goes to Christmas and he's quite upfront by saying, what, it's my 60th birthday and all you've got me is a, you know, cab. So no one would say, you would not say that. I certainly would never, ever bring up I mean, I make a point of not buying people's birthday presents. But I mean, and the good thing about living in London is you're kind of away from anyone.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm in Brighton.
Yeah, just so we don't have to buy each other presents.
I know, but we did last year, didn't we?
We did, yeah. And I gave you that Office book as well. That was £15, which I'm still. Yeah, I did.
Book. No, you haven't.
Yeah, you've got it. I'm giving it to you.
Oh yeah, you did. Sorry, yeah. You did.
Look in your dusty flat.
I used it for firewood.
Yeah.
But no. The thing about crib I was going to say is, when Ricky says one for his knob, I've looked that up. That is actually a thing.
Is it really?
Crib. Yeah, you do say like one for his knob, like, or 2 for his knob. I don't know what it means, but like, that's not like Ricky just saying, oh, one for his knob, like one for his hat. Oh, I'll just say one for his knob.
Well, that's apparently even funnier in a way.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's like when you said, isn't that a Bay City Roller song? And I didn't know that was Shangri-La.
You still loved it.
I think it's just a funny thing. Do you know, there are so many times in this episode, particularly when he's taken the piss out of, but the bit at the start where he's saying, you want to jet back in from one of your holidays, I can actually imagine their faces now. You know, when you've listened to stuff for so many times, you're just like, it makes it funnier when you're like imagining their faces, and they're like, because you know what Steve looks like when he smiles. You know what Ricky looks like when he laughs. You know what Karl looks like when he's sort of like gormless.
Yeah.
And so I'm literally just animating them in my head effectively. And it's just, it's a really nice thing to imagine, because it makes it even funnier in a way. Like when we've talked before about, you know, Ricky sort of teeing up Karl for a joke at Steve's expense. You can so picture that, just like Ricky sort of subtly smiling, like a sort of creeping onto his face. The physicality of it, where they've been sitting on the table, because you see pictures of the studio. So I don't know. That's just like a little detail that I like to play out when I'm listening to the show.
I think we all do that, and I'd love to have seen more images or like actual. I know their internet camera in those days was not very good anyway, but I'd love to have seen a bit of imagery from it. But actually having not seen it actually makes it better in a way. As we've talked about this before with audio, you can kind of have your own picture of how it is. And sometimes that's funnier than reality, but you certainly.
I think it is. I think it definitely is, and I love that. They talk a lot about sayings in this episode as well. I do find it funny when they say, "Don't nudge your granny while she's shaving." Now, what does he mean by that? Is he talking about literally shaving her face?
Yeah,
the way your granddad.
No, her legs, I imagine. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, that's a nice thing to imagine, isn't it?
Yeah, but what's nicer, legs or face? If it's your granny.
Yeah, I guess so. God, that is grim. That is a grim image. Something else that is a grim image, because he says a phrase that he uses is "Don't teach your granny to suck eggs," right? Which I've always thought is such an unpleasant. It's such an unpleasant image, isn't it?
Well, you don't like, because last week I said that my grandma has the saying "pot to piss in." You haven't got.
I hate that.
You don't like that. It's sayings of grandmas like, you don't like.
No, well, no, it's not. It's not that.
She said bullshit to me this
that's
week.
Mental.
Yesterday we spoke to her. She was like,
I love it when old people swear. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But because I don't like eggs, I really got this aversion against boiled eggs. Just there's something in the sort of nudie nakedness of it, and the smell, and it's just they're sort of squishy. And when I
don't really like them either.
But the thought, I'm just imagining like an old woman sucking on a boiled egg.
Yeah,
it seems such an obvious thing to say, but do you know how it actually came about, that phrase?
No, I don't.
So it's not clear, but the Oxford English Dictionary, and I've got a description here. It's from a translation in 707 by J. Stevens of Francisco de Quevedo, who's like a Spanish author. "You would have to teach my grandmother to suck eggs." Most likely, the meaning of the idiom derives from the fact that the advent of modern dentistry and modern dental prostheses, many elderly people had very bad teeth or no teeth, so that it was the simplest way for them to eat protein was to poke a pinhole in the shell of a raw egg and suck out the contents. Therefore, a grandmother was usually already a practiced expert on sucking eggs and did not need anyone else to tell how to do it.
That sounds a lot like
crazy is that?
To me.
No, come on. That does make sense, though, doesn't it?
Is that the Oxford Dictionary, did you say?
But if you think, So if you think, right, 1707, so 18th century.
No, you said 707. That's
1707.
Oh, you meant you said 707.
Yeah,
I was thinking it was medieval times.
So like sort of thing Priti Patel would do with getting her numbers wrong, isn't it? That's sort of satire.
By 1,000 years you got it wrong. 1,000 years.
But how great, like sucking out a little fetus. Isn't that lovely?
That is what you're doing. That is what you're doing, actually. I quite like runny eggs, but I don't like hard boiled eggs.
Really? What's your favourite type of egg? Email in spinnerspodcast@gmail.com.
What do you think about boiled eggs? What do you think about boiling in general? Let us know.
We've got to talk about the unlikely lust objects chat.
Absolutely. I just want to say, because we always forget, coming up, we will have, apart from this chat, we'll have our favourite quotes, of course, and some XFM in the community. So when we go through your
and Gary picks a song, and I've got it down on good authority that this week he has a song already lined up.
I haven't told you that. That's
definitely, I've heard it.
Team me up for failure. But yeah, unlikely lust objects. One of the best. You're just going to come to that. One of the best segments on any show is the whole unlikely lust objects segment. Especially the beginning of it. And just Karl again. He's so clever, just to say lanky co-right, because that's what it would have said. And the phrase like saying, do I need to say anymore? Which is in my favourite quotes anyway. But it's so clever because at that time, literally, you don't need to say anymore. lanky co-writer is Steve Merchant in any context,
Exactly,
in any journal, in anything. Lanky co-writer is Stephen Merchant. Now he's got more to his strings to his bow, but yeah, I just love that so much.
It's so funny. And also how he's coming up with a feature. He's just chilling in the room, reading one of Suzanne's magazines. He goes,
can you imagine how happy he was when he heard when he read
it
Steve Merchant was there? It'd be
amazing.
like, oh my God, this is
the fact that Stephen is actually in it as well, because he's just a writer at this stage, isn't he? Though he does, the only bit he plays is the goggle-eyed freak, but he wouldn't have been like a well-known
he wouldn't be, No, but he would have been, you know, he'd done certain interviews and things with Ricky. There's interviews with him in 2002, so 2003. Some people would have known who he was. In fact, he's perfect for that kind of list where you don't really necessarily have to know all the people on it. But like lanky co-writer, that is what Steve was, like literally. Yeah. He was a lanky co-writer. You say lanky co-writer, there is only one human being on earth. It is Steve Merchant, you know. So yeah. It works so perfectly with Karl's little attack.
But when he's reading that magazine, he goes, so I put that in, soak that up. Like that's research to him. That's the feature. Yeah. That's the sort of thing that he used to do in our old show, Dutch or otherwise. Gary he'd often read Heat magazine and would just use that for content. I just love how resourceful he is.
I did a weather forecast.
Yeah, I think you've got an email from a potential love interest later, haven't you?
Oh, we'll come to that. Yeah, I've got a few, but I'm a chased after man. But one thing about this episode in particular, that's related to that, is that I usually feel quite sorry for Steve. I love it when he's the brunt of Karl's attacks and Ricky's attacks. It's funny, but I do feel sorry for him. But he's less sympathetic in this one, because when Karl mentions, and it's a funny line, well, I dropped the stuff I do about Lisa Riley. Steve's like, no, some people deserve it. And he's like, and then he goes on to take the piss out of her. So actually, I felt like, yeah, you do deserve it, actually, Steve, because you're quite a mean person as well. Like, it's just that you happen to be the brunt of people's jokes.
Yes.
You also, he is quite a mean person.
Oh God, well, he does.
And I love the jokes. You know, he's funny. He's funny when he doesn't. But I'm just saying, he's quite a mean person as well.
Yeah. Well, if you think you've got to take into consideration, he's outwardly like dismissive of fat people, as he puts it.
Very much so, yeah.
And but the where's Lisa Riley these days? She used to be the mainstay of Saturday night
she was entertainment. She was on You've Been Framed after Jeremy Beadle. But I don't know what happened to her, but you know,
is she still in Emmerdale? I don't watch Emmerdale anymore, but she might be in that. I think that was the last thing she was doing.
Is that what she? Is that
yeah, she played. Yeah, I think so. That's kind of how she shot to fame. Then she was like, Jeremy Beadle's successor, wasn't she? Then it was Harry Hill, and that'll be Gary Forrestal.
We'll see. But I used to actually. That was one show we used to sit down and watch. Was You've Been Framed. Never ever liked it. Never found it funny. My dad loves it. Like my dad's got a good sense of humour in other ways, so I'm not knocking him like that. But he loved. Let's sit down. You've Been Framed. We all sat down as a family. But
do you know why that's funny? Do you know why that's funny though now? Because You've Been Framed effectively is just like meme culture and prank videos today. Because like people joke about it, but the internet is just cat and dog videos. So people might not like You've Been Framed, but they'll gladly sit through scroll through about 1 million cat and dog videos and be like, because my girlfriend does it, I do it.
I do that. I love cat videos and dog videos and dogs being rescued and things like that.
You'd love You've Been Framed then, Gary.
Yeah, no, but that's not what You've Been Framed is. It's not like a 5-minute cat video about how this cat's got rescued from a feral litter and, you know.
You like those ones?
No, I like those ones. But, you know, you've got funny ones as well. But in general, I never found You've Been Framed funny. Some on the internet can be funny, but I think you can easily just press stop. I think it's the fact that I was forced. Not through violence.
It's never fun to.
But I forced to sit down through half an hour of that. And, you know, you've got the little bits where Beadle comes back in and does his little thing, and it's never funny. It's not Beadle's fault, right? He was given a script, obviously, and he's not like a comedian. So, but at least Harry Hill made it, you know, a bit entertaining. But even with Harry Hill, I don't find it funny.
No. In the Unlikely Lust of this, and I do find this isn't Steve being mean, but it's the publisher or the editor when they said, I'm not 38, I'm 25. Now that is a good 13 years difference. I mean, that was obviously trying to be the fact of the matter is that stuff probably happens like all the time, doesn't it? You know, people changing facts. Like that's, I don't even know why you would change that for a start, but they're just looking at the picture and going, that's a bit shit. It's a bit of a horrible picture.
I think Karl just assumed she was about 38, and I don't know. It's funny that she was actually listening to the show as well. That's funny.
No. That's what it was. That's what it would have been written down, because in the little article.
No. See, I don't think so. See, the reason, the whole point is that she emails in to say, look, Karl, you've got it wrong. I'm not 38, I'm 25. I can't remember when Karl actually says she's 38, but it must have been cut out.
Because it didn't happen.
No, exactly. But why would she say, I'm not 38, I'm 25?
Because that's what the article says.
But she's not saying, she wouldn't put in the article, I'm 38.
She didn't put that in the article. The person who wrote it put that in the article.
But why? It was her article.
Yeah, but they obviously change it after that, don't they? The editor or the journalist.
Anyway, it's a very ambiguous situation. We don't know what went on exactly. But
well, how would you feel if someone said Gary Forrestal, 45?
Yeah, I would.
Is desperately single and fancies Lisa Riley.
Hang on, you're adding a bit. That's like when Ricky does. See the freak, God. And then Steve goes, you're not even doing the accent this time. You're not even doing the accent. You're just disguising the horrible stuff. Yeah, I luckily I look about my age, but with the beard I do look older. So yeah, but I look around about my age. But yeah, it wouldn't be nice. I don't know who thought she was 38 or whether it said she was 38 or whatever. But yeah, you can sit in a grainy little picture. You could look anything. I've been on dates with girls that look completely different from their photo. And by the way, I'll say probably from the other way around, I probably look different to them in real life as well.
Disappointing.
But literally,
can I show you the photo he gave me?
Well, that's what it's like. But yeah, it's a great bit anyway. The whole Steve is, and I think another interesting bit is we get an insight. I always like these because we get fewer of them into Karl's mum as well.
Yes, episode. I was going to talk about that. We do
with the Rockbusters clues, like in previous episodes, we get a little insight into her mind. He likes wine. That man likes wine. But this is quite a lovely story actually. Like it's
she wants
sweet.
to
I can imagine her
be an author. Yeah, I have to confess, I always skip that bit, and I'll tell you what, it's not because I find it boring or too sincere, or I actually find it quite sad. Genuinely, I find it quite sad. And also, honestly, I will cry. You could show me like a Holocaust movie or a murder, and I'm talking about in film. I'm talking about, and it wouldn't cry. But you put on something like Babe. But I literally will be crying my eyes out. It's animals.
You're
in
like
films.
Karl with the Elephant Man. Actually, seriously, and also the Elephant Man is one of the saddest films I've ever seen, and I would cry at that. But yeah, I don't
cry at Elephant. It's not sad though, is it?
Oh God, it is one of the saddest. I'm with Karl. Like I genuinely think it's one of the, when he lies down at the end, knowing that I'll kill him. It's so sad. But this I don't feel sad listening to this dog story.
Yeah, but I'm just imagining two little dogs running around, and one of them's an unloved dog. Is one of the saddest things in my life. I just can't think of anything sadder. I know, but it is like that. Can you imagine little lovely little dog there, just wanted to be loved, like all of us?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a little story. It doesn't
kill it.
Does it really,
kill it then.
Really...
Chuck it in the river. I know.
Do you want a Nintendo? Kick the rabbit to death too.
Kill the rabbit to death.
Kick the rabbit to death. So you really skip that bit, do you? Like in general, it's just for this, but
of course. But I just normally skip it. It's just the sadness.
No,
it's such a bizarre thing, isn't it? Because it's a fictional dog.
It's a fictional dog written by like,
a mentalist.
A woman you don't know. Like, no, not a mentalist, but it's just sweet that she wrote that story, and it's probably for Karl, and it does have a moral to it. It's like, treasure the things you don't feel you should treasure in life because they're kind. But it's I never find it sad. It is quite a sad story, but. I can listen to it. I quite like it. It gives you a nice little insight into Karl's mum.
Did you have anything like that growing up? Any sort of idioms or phrases or stories that
My grandpa
resonate with you?
my grandpa used to tell me a story. I can't really remember it, but it is about something coming in through the window, but a nice thing.
Stuck with you then, didn't it? Yeah.
No, but it was sweet, and it was. Yeah, he always used to read me that story. That would get me. That would check me up if I heard it now. But
my granddad used to sing me, because he's Polish. He was. He used to sing me Polish songs, like nursery rhymes and lullabies, and that was very nice. That was very soothing.
Yeah, but it's very sweet, those kind of memories. And if I was to remember those things when I listened to that story of Karl's mum's story, that would make me sad. But in general, I'm quite happy listening to a story about a little dog. It is sad, but it's not that sad. It's got a happy ending. He rescues him from the lake.
He does, and they're all fine again. Do you know something else that does date the show a little bit is the Harry Potter phenomenon?
Yeah.
Because that book would have been, it was a Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
Right. I never read one. Never seen the movie.
You've never even seen the movies?
Not at all. My brother used to, in the very early days of DVDs, used to burn them illegally and sell them at school.
Did you really?
Of the first one, yeah. Very, very early on. When he was about 13.
That turned out well for him.
Yeah, he's doing well.
My mate used to do that same thing, but with LimeWire. Do you remember when LimeWire was the thing?
Yeah, I do.
Everyone was torrenting. My friend used to do, literally get the case, burn the CD, print out the artwork on this, terrible, just...
It looks so shit always.
It was so fun. Everyone was like, oh, could you do us a new Black Eyed Peas album?
Really? That was like Adam with Harry Potter.
Why do you don't funk with my heart on Rip's desk? Why do you want that?
In your day, that was more. But I'm talking like 1998 or something ridiculously early, or 1999. Really early stuff. And the quality of them was shit. But apparently people bought them. He made a bit of money. But yeah, it does date it, the Harry Potter stuff, but not too much, I think. Tony Blair being Prime Minister is what dates it for me. But there's still a Harry Potter kind of craze, not immediate craze right now. It's still huge now, so it doesn't date it too much.
Video games, there's GPS games, there's the Fantastical Beasts.
Oh yeah,
I never ever got into Harry Potter, though. I was always more of a Lord of the Rings fan. I always thought you had to
It was like Blur versus Oasis.
It was a bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that, because but I'm not into either of them. I was like someone who liked, I don't know, Daft
Silence
instead,
Chris, you like silence, sitting in bed and being lonely.
Yeah, well, I love doing that. Yeah, but I think with Harry Potter, Ricky is right. It is a British industry. He's good with describing things. It is a British industry.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to criticize her, and it's so easy to have a go at J.K. Rowling. But how can you have a go on other things, like her views on transgender people? But
absolutely. But I'll always remember. There's a great speech. I'd advise any listener to look it up.
That's brilliant.
She did. I think I sent it to you, and it was part of her Harvard address where she got like an honorary doctorate at Harvard or something, and she did it. It spoke for about an hour, but. It was about failure, and it's so lovely, her words about failure, how much she failed, and about basically it's about how much you can actually achieve in life, but it was ostensibly about failure. But yeah, it's a fantastic speech. So yeah, of course her views on maybe slightly not in step with modern current thinking, but she's clearly I think she's a decent person.
I do too. Shall we wrap this conversation up? But I want just quickly to get your opinion on the Monkey news.
Great Monkey news, and it's like you get about 3 different pieces of Monkey news in one go. I gave the Monkey news.
I meant the island one, the Monkey business.
Yeah, it's just great the way he sets it up. It's all about how he sets it up, like the phrase "monkey business," and yeah, I like it. It's like one of those that's it's not weird enough that it can't be it takes away from the humour. It's not believable. I don't believe it, but it's got some believability in it. So I like it. It's fun. It's funny. It's prefaced with a lovely couple of stories about Karl's dad and his mates and the transgender, the cross-dresser and chimpanzee.
It's just great because it's when he must be looking at these phrases that he does it a few times with Undreth the monkey, Undreth.
Yeah, he laughs at that one.
And it's just funny how he goes, okay, how do I make Ricky and Steve? How do I come up with a story?
Yeah.
That's, that makes it like
how do I tell it?
Came from. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just saying very slowly as he does, and he does it deliberately. It's not just because Karl is slow. He does know, he understands humour. I'm not saying he's acting. He's not acting, but just to say very slowly. So, have you heard the phrase monkey business? Just says it a very lovely pace to it because it knows Ricky will laugh, and he does laugh, and it's not my favourite monkey news of all time. That's probably Drove to Spain, but it's up there with the very good monkey news. It's like last week's was average. I think it was the Russian monkey. It's pretty good. Yeah, and the Rockbusters were, I gave, I think, 5 out of 10. Monkey news about 6 out of 10. Today, 9.5 out of 10 for each would be fair, I think.
I think good. So. Fair ratings all around.
Fair ratings. But now we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with our favourite quotes and XFM in the community, and I'm going to scramble around ridiculously for a song. So you'll enjoy that. Stay tuned. Just one thing I was going to say, I just sort of said it slightly in the break, was, Ricky's fantastic line when Steve says, he's talking about the people in the queue. Oh, of course, she cried when she finished the last one. And to come up with, no, she might have been talking about Dawn French with her chocolate orange. She was advertising chocolate oranges quite heavily at that point. So.
They're not. It's not Terry's their mind, isn't it? That was the tagline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that is so sharp. That is so quick, isn't it?
So quick.
He's just so good at stand-up. You forget what a great loss RG was.
Yeah. Well, he's still with us, but he's he's not the same. But anyway, now I've got loads. Actually, I'm going to have to cut down.
I've got loads. Let's just say them really fast. It's our favourite quotes, everyone.
Okay. I'm surprised you say they were good because.
The only reason you don't go on holiday is because you have to spend money.
And then this comes straight back onto mine. Steve's made you look like... Actually, I'm going to say it. Let me say it because you've got to say it perfectly like Ricky. Steve's made you look like a bit of a twat already, and it's only 1:05.
And the laugh after that is a... Hoo-hoo!
Oh, yeah. I was even going to...
Well, they're all right on tanks.
Oh, yeah, they're all right. There's a woman with a funny neck. Classic.
Have you been to Cornwall, by the way?
Yeah. It's very picturesque, very nice. It wasn't the nicest holiday for other reasons, but it was shit weather, but it was a very lovely place. Yeah, I like Cornwall.
I went to St Ives, and it was we went glamping in St Ives, and it was lovely. It was genuinely one of my best holidays. Like,
oh, really? How old were you?
Oh, no, it was only about a couple of years ago.
All right.
Me and my girlfriend, no, I liked it because I like making fires. Not in a kind of Ralph Wiggum kind of way, but for violence. I'm not an arsonist. But I love like that sort of rustic way of living and the peace and quiet. And it was just so beautiful, and the food was excellent. And yeah, I would love to live in Cornwall if I didn't have to be here.
No, I wouldn't like to live in Cornwall. I'm a town person. Like, I need to be near a Sainsbury's, for example. But Cornwall is somewhere I'd love to
go and visit. What about if I could guarantee you a delivery of wine every week?
What? Well, that misses out 4 days a week when I need a delivery of wine. So, okay. So my next one, Too Shy.
Ah, that was my next one.
Oh, sorry.
Damn, yeah. It wasn't Ascot or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't Ascot or anything. I've got to say this right. So I've written this down verbatim, okay? So you've got to say exactly. Sorry, we're out of time. Sorry, your minute's up. You've won nothing. I was reading that question out.
That's so hard to say right, so you did a good job.
I was going to say again. Sorry, we're out of time. Sorry, your minute's up. You've won nothing. I was reading that question out.
This is another one that takes correct pronunciation. I am the fat bloater with fleshy legs. I like to read these books whilst listening to XFM on a Saturday.
I'm the fat bloater with fleshy legs.
And also, I didn't write this one, but it's just come up. Probably get an email from him in a bit.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, this again, this is one you've got to say. In fact, I've written it all in caps because that's how I say it. So I love it. I just love it. And again, this is a great example of Ricky's quickness in creating a little character that's only alive for like 20 seconds, but like make something funnier. Oh, bloody hell, she back. You killed me. I got a little bambino. Please live now. Please live.
I think you did it better than him. I think she had a nice shirt on or something.
Yeah, I think I'll check.
Oh, just the poor bloke. Not poor woman, first and foremost. But then just having to... That just makes me think of that episode where he goes, you got a name wrong again.
Yeah. She was Barb. What does he say? Like Kirsty, I think. Something. I love this. Again, real sharpness from Ricky. You could in Cornwall.
Yeah.
Like suggesting they've got like 7 fingers and 7 toes.
And meat tree and that. It's just the sadness in his voice. Just he's going, I know it's shit.
He knows it's shit, yeah.
I know. It's just so bad.
I love it. Is this a Rockbusters clue?
Yeah.
That's one of my favourites as well. Is this a Rockbusters clue? Sorry.
Don't let the chimp answer the door if you're tucking your cock in.
Yeah.
It just really makes you think of like that episode where he goes, if you've only joined now, you're finished. And the fella who can hand read an arse.
An arse, yeah. It is a bit like...
imagine tuning in and going, oh, he took his arse.
Sorry. Is this like London radio station at midday, sort of Saturday? Well, do I need to say any more?
Oh, that's just such a classic.
Yeah.
It is. That has got to be one day. We should do when we've done all of these shows in 2026. We'll have to like combine lists, make arbitrary lists.
What of our favourite ever quotes? It's so hard to do that because
our favourite episodes, quotes, Karl moments. We're gonna keep this going, is what I'm saying, Gary. This is gonna be our.
Sounds like quite a bit of work.
It does.
To me. I can't be bothered. No, we will do. We've got loads of episodes to go. Don't worry, mate. You keep saying to me, you text me in the week, like, we could do this after when we finished all the episodes. We're miles away from finishing all the episodes. When we go back to series 1.
Have a future plan, Gary.
Yeah, but our future plan is the episode. Oh, anyway, we're not getting to this. My next one was I am the bloke with fleshy legs. So I'll skip that one. Kick the rabbit to death then, which I've already done. But kick the rabbit to death then. Do you want a Nintendo? I've got one more.
I've obviously got they might have been talking about Dawn French no chocolate orange, which you've already said. But
it's worth saying again. This is just funny because I just love the way he says it. You've got to say it right again. It's not like a funny quote in itself. Yeah. What's that? It's towards the end. Like I couldn't even remember when I'm looking at it, but he goes, yeah. You'll find it if you listen to the show. Okay. If you're listeners, comment on what he says just before that, but I can't remember.
What's your favourite quote? Email in spinnerspodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter. I was about to say Trout_D, which that's how. Spinners Podcast on Twitter. And that's something that all of these next people did for our next feature, which is
XFM in the community. Sorry, did we just do a little bit where like you started a sentence and
we did that the other day though on text. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, we kept saying
twice.
Like we said exactly the same time. We anyway. The listeners aren't.
Okay, XFM in the community. This is from Neil Doherty. It's a long one, so stick with me.
Okay, thanks. Man.
I've been listening to your pod.
Keep it in. You kept my bits in.
Okay. All right. I've been listening to your podcast to much enjoyment these last few months. I've finally caught up and thought I'd say how much it's appreciated, and I've been enjoying it thoroughly as part of my daily routine.
Thank you.
Although, as you have said, that a fan podcast can only go so far, I feel like this podcast does stand up on its own, as I've been enjoying the random conversations during the intros, as well as the Dutch or otherwise episodes, and I feel you both have bright futures in the broad/podcasting space.
Thank you. Neil. Very
I
kind
thought
of you.
I'd also mention a topic which you discussed a while back on the importance of bringing an audience into the Ricky Gervais XFM shows at the right time. Though this can apply to any topic, as I'm learning in life. A good friend of mine who I worked with was a big fan of The Office and would often watch episodes together on nights in. I love nights in like that. Naturally, I thought I'd introduce him to the XFM show since he can quote The Office to a finer detail than to a priest to the Bible. Without thinking much about it too much, I told him to start season 1 and listen to a few episodes, though I later regretted that as I could see that it never really hooked him like it hooked me, and I think he stopped after a few episodes. I think what Gary said about you having to buy into the show as a concept really applies here, and I guess it was easier for me to do so than for him, though for me, I think even I would have turned off after a few shows if I had started on series 0, for example. I believe a better strategy for potential fans is exactly what you have done in starting on the stronger season, as confirmed by the poll that you did, and seeing if people catch on from there. As Karl says, put your best stuff up front. If it's a shame, as by all accounts, this person should be a fan of the XFM shows for how much he likes The Office, etc. Oh well, maybe I'll try and link him to season 2 in a few months. Anyway, I feel this is something that's definitely worth thinking about more often than most would do so when trying to introduce others into things they themselves enjoy. I believe that, and I started watching the XFM shows around 2010, either from watching An Idiot Abroad or the animated series on YouTube, and naturally stumbling onto the XFM shows on YouTube since then, though I can't honestly remember which it was first that I saw. Been listening ever since. And do stay tuned, Neil, because we've got the director of An Idiot Abroad coming in.
Sorry, you just said that twice. Why did you say it
I
again?
know.
You cut yourself out.
Speaking about polls, how about this for a potential future XFM community poll or community poll on most arbitrary guests we can put into the Trout Spinners podcast? Some potential guests are Peter Horton, David Dickinson, which that every time I see David Dickinson, I always think of that Shooting Stars joke, which is true or false, David Dickinson. Paul Ince, careful he doesn't try to take over the podcast.
Paul Ince, that's a good one, yeah.
Chris Martin, I know he was on already, but I enjoyed the interview so much that I'd like to see him come back.
Hello.
Those university students who came on to get the points for charity, I forgot all about those.
God, yeah, that's kind of...
I think it was for charity. They were like these posh kids, what they were doing a scavenger hunt. One of Karl's Doing Eden guests to get some insight into what Karl asked beyond what was played on the radio. Apologise for this joke. That would be fun. And the woman who thinks she saw a ghost. But imagine,
you don't like that.
Seriously, imagine. Like that. Yeah, I just imagine Oscar. You don't know me.
Hi.
XFM years ago, and
yeah, I've got one question for you. What was that day like? I don't want to know anything else about your life whatsoever, but I just want to ask you. No, I've said it's funny you mentioned that, Neil, because I've mentioned to Miles we could get Peter Horton on or someone like that. Who's the one who did? I did that mock-up on Twitter. What's her name? No, the woman in Children of the Corn, Linda Hamilton. That's another one to get on. But great email, Neil. Thanks for the email in general. Really appreciate your comments, and I can relate to that kind of with my dad. It was kind of he just can't get into the shows, and like he would love it. I'm sure he would, but yeah, it's kind of frustrating that he shows no interest really. He loves like An Idiot Abroad.
In front of a computer and go, listen to this.
I know,
listen to it.
But
Listen.
To be fair, he has such little time, so I can kind of understand. But he could do it on the job. But thank you, and nice list of guests as well. It's very funny. I agree. We could have all of those random people on. I'd love it. But we've actually got a couple of guest lines up, as Miles says, a couple of real guests, but they're more to do with The Office and An Idiot Abroad than this show. But yeah, thanks a lot for your comments, Neil. Glad you're a listener and you remember things. Like you remember that poll we did. You're right, series 2 did come out on top. We didn't just start on series 2 randomly, as you kind of acknowledge. We felt it was the most known series. So if we started on series, there's a lot of XFM fans, I think, who don't dip into series 1 that much, but everyone knows series 2. So we are going to go back and do series 1, but we thought we'd start with series 2 for that very reason.
It's also so exciting, like joining at that moment when they've got that dynamic, but there's so many well-known episodes. Like series 1 has its moments for me, but it's not as consistently good as series 2 by.
It's not as funny. Someone made a good point, I think, on the poll. And it was they said something like series 2 definitely hands down is the funniest. Series 1 is a lot more real and kind of innocent, and it's not as constructed as series 2. Not that series 2 is constructed, but it is a little bit more, they know their roles by then, but whereas series 1 is more real, and that makes for quite sweet radio, but it also doesn't make for quite as funny radio. Having said that, there are classic moments from series 1, and I like it in general. It's brilliant, but they haven't settled into their roles within the show, and particularly Karl, because by now that's these little things we're talking about this episode, like where he says, have you heard the phrase monkey business? And he just pauses. It's like that's he knows his role by that stage. I'm not saying if he was saying that story for a start, he would never tell that monkey news on series 1. He just wouldn't. He didn't kind of suspend his disbelief that much. But by series 2, he tells monkey news. That's funnier. But on series 1, he's not as into. He doesn't quite get his role, because it's a very strange role. I'm not criticising Karl at all, but his role is fluid and evolving in series 1. And then by series 2, it's kind of baked in the early episodes of series 2. So it's an interesting place to start, which is why we started there. So there you go. That's a little insight.
Thanks very much. Sorry, I switched off, mate. You're boring me.
Edit it out then if you don't want it.
This one's from Stacey. Hiya. Just listen to the newest podcast episode. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you for putting up with the terrible audio. I hope we've rectified it now. Honestly, that was a fucking nightmare to edit. I'll be honest with you.
We recorded that on about 12 different platforms. Zoom, Skype, telephone wire.
Meetings. Gary talks about sleep paralysis and asks people to get in touch about it. I also have this. It's fucking horrible.
I'm so sorry, Stacey. It's the worst thing, isn't it?
You wake up, you sort of wake up, but in that weird half asleep like state. So you're already a bit spaced out and literally paralyzed. So you just have to lie there with your mind racing and unable to move. It's horrific. And in the past, I've tried to call out while it's happening and ended up just blowing huge raspberries with my lips, which is hilarious in retrospect. But at the time, it is horrible.
Oh, Stacey, thank you. It sounds like there's more to that, but I'll just say it's that's really, I hate the fact that you suffer with that, but thanks for getting in touch and letting me know. It's kind of it kind of makes you feel like you're not as alone with it. It's just and I can tell you totally get it. It's very hard to explain to someone who's never experienced it just how bad it is, because you're paralyzed there, and you're kind of, to be paralyzed is such a scary thing, and you're moving, you're trying to move, and the thing that I get, I don't know if you get this, Stacey, is where you kind of you say go to move your arm and to move your body to the left to kind of show that you can move, and you do it right, but then suddenly you're back to where you were and you hadn't moved at all. It was a little dream that you moved, and that's it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
So strange.
It's very odd, but yeah. Stacey, thanks for...
She continues, I don't have it as much as I used to, but I've done a bit of research about it, and basically nobody really knows what causes it. Stress has been suggested, but I feel like they always slap that label on something when they haven't got a clue why something happens. It's the same with twitchy eyelids thing. Are you aware of this phenomenon? Also, I've read, although it's horrible, some people have sleep paralysis worse. When they wake up, not only are they paralyzed, but they also hallucinate. Usually that there's something evil in the room or something.
Yeah,
or even if there's a giant demon sitting on them. There's even a famous painting depicting this. See the Night by Henry Fuseli. Be interested to know if Gary is... I've seen that as well. As always, love the episode. Brill as ever. Thank you, Stacey. Really appreciate that.
First of all, I really appreciate it, Stacey. Yeah, it's I've been reading about it too, and I do get the thing with the demon, and it is like, I don't believe in demons and things like that, but it is so close to being possessed. And throughout history they kind of, that's what nightmare referred to, not a really bad dream, but actually sleep paralysis. And it's so horrific that it does feel like being possessed, and it's kind of like you're in between states of being awake and asleep. So your body, you're awake, but your mind hasn't caught up, so it's paralyzed you, which it does when you go to sleep, so that you don't move around too much. It paralyzes you. Your body does that. What
is it? REM?
No, well, REM's different. That's just dreaming. But if you're dreaming when you have sleep paralysis, so if you're also in the middle of a dream, it becomes even worse, like even scarier, because you do feel like you're in a demon and things are sitting on you. But I've also read, I was only reading this week because we were talking about it last week, so I was reading more about it, and it can be used, like if you're aware of it, you can control it. You can control your emotion and actually it is basically the most creative that you can ever be in that space. You doesn't feel it at the time, but because your mind will never be so awake and in the conscious present. So you can actually, a lot of writers and artists and things have used their time of having sleep paralysis to come up with ideas that they then write down. So I'm going to try and think of it like that. Not that I'm an artist or anything, I've got anything of value to say to the world, but I will try and use it as like, right, I'm not going to panic this time. I'm not going to panic this time. But every time, so far, you do panic, even if you think you're not going to, because you're paralyzed. And it's just horrible. But thanks for getting in touch with that, Stacey. Really appreciate that. It's not nice to hear. It's not nice to hear you've got it, but nice to hear you'll share your views on that.
I've got a lump. If anyone's able to email in and let me know what
Mars has a lump.
I'm joking.
Mars has had a lump since 2012. I have looked directly in Mars's mouth for lumps in his throat, more than once, because he's so. But anyway, no. But anyway, any more? Those were lovely emails.
One little more. One.
Yeah,
tiny.
Great.
This is a poll that we put out recently on Twitter. I thought it'd be quite interesting to discuss the results. It's anonymous Twitter as well, because you can obviously only put four results when you obviously want to do more. So you've got to be really selective with who you put. Anyway, I put out earlier funny phone calls. So I was trying to find out who was the funniest person who rang in, and they don't do it much. But the few times they do it, they are quite funny. So I've got calling about your plugs. I think his name was Nicholas or something like that.
He's a fucking raging homophobe, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is. I've got the Bowie tickets, which is calling.
No. He says I'm just ringing up for Bowie tickets, and Steve goes, "What? Piss off!"
Then I've got if Karl could actually give it a lick.
Give it a look. That's
and I've got you're the soundest station in the area.
He's just weird. Oh,
I feel sorry for him.
Yeah, I did it.
Okay, so who do you think? There were 67 votes. Who won out of those?
Give it a look.
Do you think it was I'm calling about your plugs?
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't. He's offensive, but he is funny.
So yeah, he got 32% of the lion's share. Lion's an animal. Then, so Emma says all amazing, but Neil was so good and such a pro. Alex Shaw says Jonathan Ross, both of them.
Yeah.
And Yosef actually sent in, do you want some free beer? Which was on series 0 or series 1, I can't remember. I did reshare it on our Twitter, so do head over there if you haven't heard that slice of audio. It's very, very early, and Ricky's basically trying to persuade someone to.
Oh, that's series 0. That's series 0.
It's at his weirdest and at his most natural, and he's so calm and funny and. He's so playful. Like we said before, Ricky's lost his sense of playfulness, but this is Ricky at his most mischievous and his most sick, and I love him for that.
And bear in mind, during Series 0, that was actually one of his proper income jobs. He wasn't earning big money. That was actually his job to try and keep, So by Series 2, it didn't matter if he lost his job on XFM anyway. He's doing all right. But then back then, I'm not saying he was poor or anything. He probably had a bit of money from his Shauna dancing days, but he needed that money. He needed that job. Yet he was so kind of like laissez-faire with.
I wanted to get Marianne Hobbs on, who does Six Music now. And there are audio clips of Ricky Steve with her, but you can tell she was not having any of it. It's not like she was good human. Like, it's very awkward actually, because
why do you want to get her on then?
I don't want to get her on for that exact reason, but I would, because I think she'd only make bad things. I mean, there was one story that I read that Karl made Gail Porter cry. Do you remember Gail Porter, who had
I know Gail Porter. Alopecia, terrible alopecia.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite an infamous story now. But I was just thinking, God, those three actually, they must have been really difficult. To be fair, Karl included as well. To be fair.
Yeah. They're
difficult people.
They're very offensive as well. Yeah, they're all difficult to work with in their own ways. I think Steve probably would be the easiest to work with, but Ricky and Karl, for different reasons, very difficult to work with. But still, I'm not saying, if you are listening, Ricky, Steve or Karl, I'm not saying don't come on the show. Do come on. No, but cheers, Yusuf, as well. If Yusuf suggests anything, it's always going to be good. So I would go back and
everyone else. What are you saying about
everyone else is great as well, Miles, but don't try and put me in the shit. But I'm just saying Yusuf is very good.
Great. And if you have something you'd like to share on the show, either an audio clip or an email or a favourite quote, spinnerspodcast@gmail.com or spinnerspodcast on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram, Duchess_Pennell. Gary is hidden from the internet. He's eradicated his existence on the online space. Try and track him down. He doesn't have anything. You won't be able to find anything on Gary Forrestal.
Not until all the shit comes out about me, from the past. No, I'm joking. Do you want to hear my email this week?
Yeah, go on.
I'm just going to find it. Hang on. This is from Lick Me Now. Hello.
Is she a fan of the show or?
Well, we'll see. Hello, I'm sorry to bother you. This might seem strange to you, but I'm just seeking somebody who knows what a woman needs. And here I do not just mean sex, but much more. How to spoil her, talk with her, caress her, to look deep into her eyes and tell her how beautiful she is. All these romantic things that men or even women today have forgot. Not my mum. Are you still like that? You still like a good romance with feelings, with some more than just sex? I hope so. This is why I've also joined bear in mind all of that preface. This is why I've joined lickmenow.womandating.online, as I am tired of all the lewd and gross messages I get from all these horny men who only thinks with their penis. I am more than that. Here I know I can feel safe and anonymous. Are you the knight on white horse? Then write me fast. Lick me now. I don't think her name goes with the sort of tone of her message there.
Knight on white horse.
Knight, are you a knight on white horse? But yeah.
Also, she said, I know I can share this anonymously. We've now shared it with at least 400 other people.
Yeah. She. Well, I don't. She didn't give her name out. I don't think her real name is christened name is Lick Me Now. So I think it's all right. But maybe I'll send her a link back to one of our shows just to see what happens.
That.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. We've got one more bit, apparently, have we? So
good that you haven't forgotten it.
No, I've got a song. I thought of a song as well.
Oh, bloody hell. So, this is the Trout Spinners library. Each week, Gary and I do. Gary doesn't so much like it.
No, I don't like it.
Chuck a song into our Spotify playlist, which you can listen to and buy a lot of Oasis in there, lots of Britpop, but basically songs that sort of sum our little personalities up. What's this week, Gary?
This week I've picked, because of it's like in the news, I've picked a Queen song. Because
Shut your mouth, really?
No. I
was going to put a Queen song in as well.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is let's see if it's the same one. This is one of my favourites. I don't think I put it in before, but tell me if I have. I don't think I have. It's Who Wants to Live Forever?
Oh, good.
Who wants to live forever?
I love that song, and we haven't got any Queen in the playlist, so that's brilliant.
Oh, so you're putting Queen in too, are you?
Yeah, but my song is "The Show Must Go On" because I like the sentiment. I think Queen are just the best feel-good band, and it's beautiful weather outside. And I can imagine just really enjoying a bit of Queen, sticking on a bit of Queen. And "The Show Must Go On." That was what you didn't see any of Bill Bailey on Strictly Come Dancing, did you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, but he's he did his final performance. He ended up winning it, but he danced to the song, and it's just such a euphoric, like the message of it. Like Queen always have a good message with their songs, don't they? It's like the show must go along. It's just such a great sentiment, particularly.
Yeah, and they're very simply told stories. There's no contrivedness to it. All right, they're not the most cleverly.
They don't need to be.
No, absolutely, they don't need to be. I completely agree. That's my point. They don't need to be. As long as you do what you do well. If the songs weren't good, if the songs didn't hold up, you could criticise them for. But the songs hold up. They're classic. Some people hate Queen. They just say they're just fantasy sort of rockers.
I don't see how anyone can hate Queen.
No, they're just amazing, and there's quite a few songs from Queen that don't have Freddie Mercury on vocals. If you go, there's quite some interesting songs, like something about this is my car.
I know what one you mean. Yeah.
What's it called?
That's not that's a song written by one of the other members about it, and it was about their car.
I'm in love with my car or something.
Yeah, but
they didn't write. They wrote, all of the band basically were the writers. It's not like it was just Freddie, but Freddie is amazing. You can't not love him.
What's the worst Oasis song?
Well, probably for me, it's Hey Now, which is funny because it's on my favourite album almost.
Why is that your worst song?
I think it's a bit slow. It's not catchy, and Noel would speak about it to this day. He quite likes Hey Now, because it's and I always think if someone picks Hey Now as their favourite Oasis song, they're just trying to do that thing where they're like they're allocating themselves a personality based on a contradictory opinion about something. So I don't think it, but I have heard, because I'm only saying that because I've read someone said their favourite song was Hey Now, and I just know it isn't. And it just can't. Well, I don't know, but it's very unlikely. So that's probably my least favourite Oasis song.
You'd rather someone just say, "I love Wonderwall," wouldn't you?
Yeah. I don't. And I was honest. Like someone asked for my top 10, didn't they? Of like my track order for What's the Story, Morning Glory, and I said I did it, and I said I put a lot of the biggies at the top. Like Don't Look Back in Anger is my favourite. Just because it's a big, well-known, commercially successful track, it just happens to be my favourite on that album, and one of my favourites of all time. And doesn't mean I'm not a huge Oasis fan. You know I am, but I have no shame in picking a big, huge song as one of my favourites. But anyway, we're getting too much into that. Those are our two songs today, two Queen songs. So go and enjoy them with your apple cider and your whatever. I can see the blue sky behind you. It looks lovely.
It's beautiful, right? How exciting!
Same here.
Oh man, I can't wait to sit and work for the rest of the day in my room.
Same.
Anyway, I've enjoyed doing the show. Yeah. Oh, are you really?
I'm practicing. Yeah, I'll be doing it.
Gary's going to do a stand-up routine, everyone. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, he's got onto this. Is it called? It's called Make Me Laugh.
Yeah,
you can check that out on the Google search engine.
Make
them laugh.
Yeah, I'm on the lineup, on the bill.
Do a little 5-minute set, him talking about.
It's about 9 minutes, but we're allowed up to 10
minutes.
Yeah, now if I include that extra bit I was telling you about, I don't know. It's all. I'm very scared. We'll see.
Oh,
anyway, it's just one of those.
Yes.
What was that?
I don't know.
Yes. That's like when Ricky goes, yeah.
It's my wrapping up voice. Anyway, guys, thank you for your company, and do join us on Patreon if you would like some extra shows. I've seen a couple of new people join us, so welcome to the club. And we'll see you next week.
Okay, there's nothing I can add to that, but thanks very much for getting in touch. Those who have, see you later.